Everyone thinks my comeback story started with Iron Man, Robert said, his voice carrying the weight of hard-earned wisdom. But it really started in county jail, learning from inmates who'd built underground empires with nothing but street smarts and determination. He smiled with the confidence of someone who'd survived the bottom. Those guys taught me more about leverage, risk assessment, and human nature than any Hollywood executive ever did. Prison was my MBA program. Tonight, I'm sitting across from Robert Downey Jr., the man who transformed from Hollywood's most notorious addict into one of the industry's highest-paid actors, earning over $300 million from the Marvel Cinematic Universe alone. But as he's about to reveal, his greatest education didn't come from acting coaches or business schools. It came from the harsh realities of incarceration and the survival wisdom of his fellow inmates. People romanticize rock bottom, but there's nothing romantic about being arrested multiple times, losing everything you've worked for, and watching your career disappear while you're powerless to stop it, Robert continued, his famous charisma now tempered with hard-earned humility. But jail, that's where I learned the skills that would eventually make me hundreds of millions of dollars. The waiter brought our drinks, but Robert's focus remained on the unlikely education that shaped his comeback. My first serious stint was in 1999, 6 months in Los Angeles County Jail for violating probation. I went in as this privileged actor who thought he was smarter than everyone else. I came out understanding power dynamics, resource scarcity, and human psychology in ways that Harvard MBAs never could. What specifically did you learn? Everything is negotiation, and everyone has something to trade. In jail, you might trade commissary items for protection, information for favors, respect for resources. The currency isn't money, it's reputation, relationships, and strategic thinking. Robert showed me a photo from his early acting days, then one from his lowest point, highlighting the dramatic transformation. I met guys in there who ran multi-million-dollar operations with nothing but a cell phone and street credibility. These weren't educated men in the traditional sense, but they understood market forces, supply and demand, risk management, and organizational hierarchy better than most Fortune 500 CEOs. One guy, let's call him Marcus, had built a network that spanned 3 states. No college education, grew up in poverty, but he could read people instantly, identify opportunities others missed, and manage complex operations through pure force of personality and strategic intelligence. The first course arrived, but Robert's passion for the subject kept him engaged. Marcus taught me that desperation is the ultimate motivator, but desperation without strategy is just chaos. He said, "Rob, when you get out, you're going to be desperate to work again. Don't just take whatever they offer. Make them need you more than you need them." That advice would later be worth hundreds of millions when I negotiated my Marvel contracts. But at the time, I was just a washed-up actor trying to understand how to survive in an environment where showing weakness could get you killed. How did prison change your approach to business? It taught me that reputation is your most valuable asset, and it can be destroyed or rebuilt based on your actions under pressure. In Hollywood, I'd been known as talented but unreliable. In jail, I learned that reliability isn't just showing up, it's keeping your word when it costs you something. I saw guys lose everything because they broke promises, and I saw others build empires because they honored their commitments even when it was disadvantageous. That lesson stuck with me when I started negotiating comeback roles. Robert pulled up his early post-prison contracts, showing the strategic thinking behind his career resurrection. When I got out, I was basically unemployable. Insurance companies wouldn't cover me, studios wouldn't touch me, agents wouldn't return my calls. But prison had taught me that when you have nothing to lose, which gives you incredible negotiating power. I started taking roles for scale, minimum wage, but I negotiated backend deals, profit participation, and future project guarantees. Traditional actors' agents thought I was crazy, but I was thinking like Marcus. Build the relationship, prove reliability, then leverage that into bigger opportunities. The breakthrough was, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in 2005. Shane Black took a massive risk casting me, and I negotiated like my life depended on it, because it did. Not just back-end money, but a good behavior clause that would lead to bigger opportunities if I stayed clean and professional. The main course was served, and Robert reflected on how prison psychology shaped his Marvel strategy. Beer. When Marvel approached me about Iron Man, everyone said I was lucky they were willing to take a chance on me. But I'd learned in jail that desperation is a two-way street. They needed me as much as I needed them, maybe more. Marvel was a startup studio trying to launch their own cinematic universe. They couldn't afford A-list actors, but they needed someone with enough talent and charisma to carry a franchise. I was damaged goods, but I was also hungry in a way that successful actors couldn't match. How did you negotiate that deal? Like an inmate who understood that survival meant thinking long-term. I took a relatively low base salary, $500,000, but I negotiated back-end participation that would pay me based on the success of not just Iron Man, but the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Prison had taught me to think systematically about how individual actions affect larger ecosystems. Tony Stark wasn't just a character. He was the foundation for a billion-dollar franchise. I made sure my compensation reflected that strategic importance. Robert showed me the evolution of his Marvel contracts, demonstrating increasingly sophisticated deal-making. By the time we got to Avengers, I was making $50 million per film plus back-end participation. But that wasn't just because Iron Man was successful. It was because I'd proven reliability, creative collaboration, and business partnership beyond just acting. The inmates had taught me that the most successful operators weren't just good at their core skill, they were good at making everyone around them more successful. I made Marvel more money, so they made me more money. What other prison lessons shaped your business approach? Resource management under scarcity. In jail, everything is limited. Food, phone time, commissary access, even personal space. You learn to maximize value from minimal resources and to never waste opportunities. When I started my comeback, I treated every audition, every meeting, every public appearance like it might be my last chance. I over-prepared, showed up early, stayed late, and made sure everyone remembered me positively. The restaurant was quieter now, allowing us to explore the deeper psychological aspects of his transformation. Prison also taught me about authentic leadership versus positional authority. Guards had official power, but real influence often came from inmates who commanded respect through their actions, intelligence, and ability to solve problems. In Hollywood, I'd relied on my natural talent and family connections. After prison, I understood that sustainable success requires earning respect through consistent performance and adding value to other people's lives. I started treating every project like a collaborative business venture rather than just a job. Directors, producers, even crew members. I made sure working with me made their projects better, not just because of my acting, but because of my professionalism and strategic thinking. How did you maintain that mindset during your Marvel success? By remembering that success can disappear as quickly as it arrives. Prison taught me that external circumstances can change instantly, but your character and skills are portable assets that no one can take away. Even when I was making $50 million per movie, I approached each project with the same intensity and preparation I'd learned during my desperate comeback years. Complacency is what destroyed my career the first time. I wasn't going to let it happen again. Robert pulled up photos from various Marvel premieres, showing the confidence that came from systematic success building. The other crucial lesson was understanding power dynamics and when to push versus when to yield. In prison, reading social situations incorrectly could be dangerous. In Hollywood negotiations, it could cost you millions. I learned to identify who actually made decisions versus who just talked, how to build coalitions of support, and when to be aggressive versus when to be patient. Those skills were worth more than any acting technique. What about your production company and other business ventures? That's where the systematic thinking really paid off. Instead of just being an actor for hire, I started building an ecosystem of creative and financial partnerships that would generate revenue regardless of my individual projects. Team Downey, my production company with my wife Susan, allows us to develop projects we're passionate about while maintaining creative and financial control. We're not just participating in other people's visions, we're building our own empire. As our dinner wound down, Robert reflected on the broader implications of his unconventional education. The irony is that prison, supposedly the place where society sends people to be punished, gave me the skills that made me more successful than I'd ever been before. Not despite my incarceration, but because of it. Most business schools teach theory based on case studies. Prison taught me survival psychology in real time with real consequences. The lessons stick because they had to. Failure wasn't just academic, it was dangerous. What's your advice for people facing their own rock bottom? Understand that rock bottom can be the foundation for your greatest success, but only if you're willing to learn from everyone around you, especially people you might normally dismiss or judge. Some of the smartest people I've ever met never finished high school, but built empires through pure intelligence, determination, and understanding human nature. Don't let credentials blind you to wisdom that comes from experience. Also, recognize that desperation is a superpower if you channel it correctly. When you have nothing to lose, you can take risks and make moves that successful people are too comfortable to attempt. What's next for your empire? Continued diversification and using the platform I've built to create opportunities for others. The goal isn't just personal wealth, it's building something sustainable that creates value for the people who believed in me during my comeback. I'm also using my story to help others understand that failure isn't final unless you decide it is. The same skills that got me out of prison and back to the top can work for anyone willing to learn from unconventional teachers. As we stood to leave, Robert offered his final insight about education, failure, and the unexpected sources of wisdom. Harvard teaches you how to succeed when everything is going right. Prison teaches you how to survive when everything goes wrong. In business and life, the second skill is actually more valuable because crisis is inevitable, but comfort is temporary. The inmates who taught me the most weren't trying to be motivational speakers or business gurus. They were just sharing survival strategies that had kept them alive and successful in impossible circumstances. If you can learn from failure, from people society discards, from situations that seem hopeless, you'll develop skills that no traditional education can provide. That's the real secret to my comeback. I got an education that money can't buy. This evening with Robert Downey Jr. revealed that sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the most unexpected teachers, and that rock bottom can become the foundation for unprecedented success if you're humble enough to learn from everyone and desperate enough to change everything. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos to hear the most private dinner conversations where billionaires reveal their deepest secrets. Which part inspired you the most? Drop it in the comments. Let's figure out how to become billionaires together.